The next stage is the preparation of the forms. Nail forms. Their correct preparation and setting play a very important role in nail building. You should correctly install the form. The form should sit completely under the nail plate. For this, we conduct an initial fitting. We place the form under the nail plate and look at what length we need to cut the deepening. There are two types of forms shown in this video. The first type, they are softer and more flexible, and the other type are more stable and firm. I like working with firmer forms, and I advise you to use them in your work for the first time. So, we have tried the form on, and now we need to cut out the deepening. How to do so? The form is divided into squares to give you an indication on how to cut it. Find the central line in the middle, the line that will go to the center of the nail plate, and the division to the central line, one to the right and one to the left. This is the working zone of the deepening, where you can cut it out. Don't try to cut deep immediately. Start gradually to understand and feel the depth. After that, try on the form. If the form doesn't firmly fit under the nail plate, you can cut this deepening a little more. Now I switch to a hard nail form that I prefer to work with. We begin to try on the form, bending it and forming an arch, in order to make it easier when placing it under the nail plate when we do the fitting. Deepenings are usually marked on such forms. On this form, there are 3 depths already indicated. With thin scissors, I cut out in neat movements, make an arch again, and try on a form once more. If the form steadily sits under the nail plate, with my left hand with the index finger and the thumb, I hold the client's finger. Holding the form, I format the arch and create the bonding of the form in this arch. After we install the form and made sure that there are no gaps between the nail plate and the form, we check the growth point of a natural nail. When the arch has formed, then we carry through with the gluing and glue the sides to the finger as well. This is how a framed nail form looks like, placed under the nail plate. We cut out the depth, completing the fitting beforehand. Sometimes there's no need to cut out the form at all. Be sure to pay attention to the central axis of the nail plate. The center of the form should match with the center of the axis, so that later, when creating extensions, when we remove the formed arch is straight and not looking somewhat to the side. A common mistake of nail technicians is when the depth of the form is not enough. The form can even hang on weight, and then a gap may form between the corner of the form and the growth point. If you leave it like that while laying out the gel, it will leak onto the skin under the free edge, and it will be more difficult to file it out. During the growing process, the step will form and the client will begin to pick the step, or a crack may form. You can also try this method of fitting. Usually forms of such firmness have a very strong, sticky base, and everything sticks to the gloves. To make it easier during the fitting when cut in depth, you can try not peeling off the paper immediately. You can bend it, as I've shown you, try it on, cut the deepening and try it on again. We check the ingrowth points. The form doesn't want to sit stably, so we need to cut out the sides for the side folds. I advise you to mark the growth points for the first time, for example, with a marker. And according to these divisions, make slits parallel to the marking and cut out the sides. You probably need to try this several times and you will ruin the first nail form, but then it will become much easier for you. I like this method very much. The form will easily fit under the nail plate and it will be easier to arrange the arch. If you make square, long nails, this will be the perfect arch without tightness. And only now I remove the paper base of the form. It perfectly fits without any gaps. Check the side view and check the lateral axis of the finger and the form. They must be parallel so that the longitudinal arch doesn't go down and is not raised up, so that the form is set the same as the growth of the natural nail. It should be an extension of a natural nail. I repeat once again, the lateral axis of the finger is needed when setting the forms. For extensions, we pay attention to the lateral axis so that the free edge is correctly formed. So what else should I look for when fixating the form? Let's say that one of your client's fingers is not very straight. So in order to correctly model, build and place the form, you must focus on the first phalanx of the finger. Do you remember from the lesson the structure of the nail plate? That our finger consists of 3 phalanges. The first phalanx is closer to the palm, and the third phalanx is bent or curved, and the direction of the free edge cannot be set along this phalanx. Always look for the middle point between the first and third phalanges. Then there will be a correctly chosen axis, and the extended nail will visually look even during the growth. Perfectly built nails depend on the correct preparation of the nail plate for extensions. We have already reviewed this stage and also reviewed the stage of setting up the form and the fixation of the form. Further, we will talk about the application of the gel material, the distribution of the material, taking into account the architecture of the nail plate and the nail extension, and then the filing of the form. Now we will apply a primer, starting with the little finger and go all the way to the 5th finger, the thumb, and switch to the other hand, also starting with the little finger. The primer doesn't dry under the lamp. It immediately dries as you thinly apply it onto the nail, literally before your eyes. I repeat that we apply the primer with very light movements, very thinly, without touching the skin. But at the same time, the nail plate and the free edge end should be covered entirely for a better bonding. A primer prepares the nail plate for material acceptance, for better bonding. Now I apply the first phase of the gel for bonding, which is applied in a thin layer. Look at my movements. They're little rubbing or trampling. You don't need a drop of gel. You need to apply it thinly and trample or rub it into the nail plate, capturing all parts of the nail plate, especially those that are near to the skin. This gel goes under various names. It is the transition between the building gel and the nail plate, like a bond. The polymer gel we apply immediately to all 5 fingers of one hand and dry in a lamp. Usually it's 120 seconds in a UV lamp. I told you that adhesion, or the bonding, ideally occurs on an undamaged nail plate. If the dorsal layer is damaged, absent for some reason, or the nail technician has overfiled the nail plate, for example, or the client harshly stripped off her old bonding material, then the bonding will be much worse. We have a nail plate in good condition, so the adhesion should occur easily, or the bonding. Now the next phase. I'm starting to work with the builder gel. It is of medium density, and the first little finger had a camouflage gel. I laid out the free edge, determined the length and the shape that I will make for the client, which is the oval shape. You can see how I laid out the oval shape. So this is a French manicure which we put on the foam immediately, distributing it and laying out a smile line. With short brush strokes, the brush has an elongated shape so that you can work with the tip itself. If you don't like some moments in your work that you've missed, or perhaps made an uneven smile line, for example, you can always straighten and stretch the lines with the clean, dry brush. Also, on the foam, you can correct the shape so that you don't file out the excess thickness of the free edge. In this case, our French will be milky color. There will be no bright pigment, and therefore, when laying out a layer of such milky color, you should look at the foam and distribute the gel quite thinly, but at the same time evenly. Be sure to look at the angle from above so that the milky color is without bare spots and that it lays evenly. After that, you can immediately dry this gel in a lamp. My Builder gel drying time is 120 seconds. You should always ask when buying gel about the curing time under the lamp. Don't try to spread a very thick layer of free edge when building. Now we are doing a layout French on a foam. After that, we will distribute the transparent Builder gel, and therefore the thickness of the future free edge should be thin. So a lot of material should not lie on the foam. Remember that our nails should be graceful and thin at the end. We spread the material on the free edge on the foam quite thinly. You don't need a lot of material because on top of the coating, we will still have a transparent Builder gel that will also give thickness. Now I will show you different options for Builder gels and what you can do with them. On the little finger, we had a layout Builder gel in light pink camouflage. It will be very natural looking. The second finger I laid out as Milky French. Third finger is where the white pigment is more saturated. It will be more pronounced French. Now, fourth finger, we will also have a layout camouflage gel. This can be used if the client wants, for example, just a natural looking milky nail in an oval shape. In the end, you'll see what happens. Fifth finger, the nail will be square. We will lay out with camouflage gel, and then I will show how you can make a drawn French. I really like working with camouflage gels and lay out the free edge of the nail with the camouflage gel. If we are not making French manicure, of course. If you do the extension under the color gel polish, especially if it's dark, and if you spread the free edge with a transparent builder gel, if the client turns her hand and the free edge is visible, it will be painting in the color that is laid on top. Camouflage gel doesn't give this transparency, so the first time when you start working with gels, it's quite difficult to work with the transparent builder gel, as it's transparent and you can't always feel the thickness that you are laying out. So I recommend you lay out the free edge with the camouflage gel, as I'm showing you. You don't need to form a smile line. Here this accuracy is optional, but at the same time do observe all that I've said earlier. You don't need any thickness on the free edge. We'll still have a gel on top that will form the architecture of the nail plate. Now I lay out a square shape on the fifth finger. You know that squares are all different, and in this case I'm showing you how to make a square that will be narrowing instead of expanding without clamping the form. Immediately make the lateral parallels of the free edge wall more flawless. Then it will be easier for you to file it. After you have dried, polymerized the built free edge, remove the form. The form is always removed by using a technique as shown in my video. With the thumbs, we'll press the form down and a click occurs. Only down, you can't lift the form up or pull the form so as not to break the laid out free edge of the form.